If you were watching earlier, you'll know I'm spending the day high in the Lamington National Park, trekking the 22-kilometre border track, which cuts along the ridgeline between the Binnaburra and O'Reilly's resorts. My walking partner is Tim O'Reilly, an experienced guide with an intimate knowledge of this World Heritage Area. People familiar with the history of the region will automatically associate the O'Reilly name with the crash of a passenger aircraft called the Stinson back in 1937. And that's the sort of cliff face that the old Stinson plane would have tried to climb over with a storm on top.
Very much so. In fact, the wreck site, not quite visible from here, it's further around to the right, but it crashed almost right on the border range as well.
The against-the-odds discovery and subsequent rescue of two survivors, John Proud and Joe Binstead, by Tim's great-uncle, Bernard O'Reilly, has become part of Australian folklore. And it's history that you can relive, as each year Tim leads a couple of hikes out to the wreck site. But a word of warning from someone that's done it before. The 35 k's of steep climbs and descents make it a much more demanding day than the border track. But if you're fit and determined, then it's an experience I highly recommend training for. What ultimately saved the lives of the two plane crash survivors, Joe Binstead and John Proud, was the dogged determination of Bernard O'Reilly not to give up until he found the wreck. These days, it's a bit easier to let people know when you need help, thanks to modern technology. This Accusat 410 personal locating beacon is the fastest and most accurate system for notifying rescue authorities that you're in trouble and direct them to your location. One of the points I like about this is that it can be registered in your name and an emergency contact. So if it is set off, the authorities can immediately check to make sure it's not just a false alarm before they launch a helicopter to pick you up. Although brilliant for bushwalkers, four-wheel drivers and motorbike riders, it's important to note that personal locating beacons don't comply with all the same standards as EPIRBs and therefore can't be used as a substitute out on the water. As we approach the highest point of the track, up into an area with almost perennial cloud cover, some of the world's most prized and oldest residents begin to emerge. Antarctic beech trees, a relic of up to 500 million years ago, when much of the world existed as a single continent, Gondwana.
There are still trees, Nothofagus, in the same genus as this tree, in South America. And so it's a real piece of evidence, I guess, as to the former joining of the continents. And that's one of the reasons that this area is a World Heritage Area, because it gives that real window to the past.
It makes this area even more special, doesn't it?
It's a very special part of the national park, I think, up on these high ridges, and it's really worth the walk out here to see these, especially when all the mist is running through them and they're all covered in nice lush moss like this. Yeah. It's spectacular.
It's an absolute privilege. Thank you. It's worth noting that if, like us, you stop and start at every turn, it's entirely likely you'll be returning after sunset. And while I'm with an experienced guide, the Lamington National Park is no place to be on your own after dark. My advice, start early and carry a torch. There are camping grounds here at the Green Mountains End and back at Binnaburra, and I've enjoyed staying at both in times past. But after 22 k's of slog, there's just something about the thought of a hot shower, a good meal and a soft bed that I can't pass up. At least not after I dry out and warm up again anyway. If you're keen to tackle the border track yourself, then the team at O'Reilly's can organise transfers and maps for a self-guided walk or private guides for a more detailed experience with a local expert. If it's gear you're after, then get into BCF and kit yourself out with all the hiking accessories to keep cool and comfortable out on the trail.